Right, so this is Saturday for you guys. So that we can, because the objective versus constraint was a pretty big podcast, so we want to do a application, because I'm pretty sure everybody has the same question. What does that mean for me? How do I do that for me? So that means that you're asking me to find your constraints, which obviously I cannot do. By the way, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Before we get there, I received a message and I'm going to read it to you because, by the way, we need to talk about the templates and that we stopped.
Yeah.
It's October 1st, actually today is. And so therefore we are discontinuing the templates and we're going to explain why. Before we get there, let me read you this message. Is there a way I could get or buy the remaining templates? I wish I found you guys and tried them earlier. I would suggest that you leave everyone who is in the middle of a template to complete. I'm guessing time to complete. Any new law given in a civilized society is active at new cases, not retroactive. So first of all, let me answer the gentleman who wrote me this in the nicest way possible. So I have a few points I would like to make first. You seem to assume this is a democracy, because that's what you mean when you say civilized society, where really this is a benevolent dictatorship. So let's be very frank about this, and guess who's at the top? So, by the way, on top of that, saying that by making it retroactive makes me uncivilized is not the way you're going to gain from me to do what you want.
No.
Right. So on the third point, usually telling me what to do like I have no choice on the matter is another good way to make sure I do not do what you want.
It's almost a guarantee.
That's actually how this works. It is like specially phrased in a way where if you don't do what I want, you're such an asshole, like you just ask for me to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, just so you know, and I'm being super nice. Tyler asked me to be nice about this, I will be nice. So in the nicest way, I can say that, fuck you. No, but like, okay, so now let me explain. All jokes, I'm joking. Of
course.
All jokes aside, completely joking. All jokes aside, let me explain. This is not retroactive. I explained, we gave it to October 1st. This is not how this works. First of all, this is like the civilized society, nothing is retroactive. I can't go and delete the template that you have at home. That would be retroactive. We're not doing that. We're just stopping to make any new ones. And now I'm going to explain why. But I love the way you phrased it. You have no clue what you're talking about.
Can we go into first why we pulled the templates?
Yes, that's what.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So let me explain how I started.
Yes, that's actually good. Yeah.
Because we had many talks with Richard actually as to when we started to do the templates. This was about 3 years ago. I was living in Victus and CJ asked me, say, look, we need a template for the game athletes and the Saturday session that we had. I was like, yeah, that's easy. I'll write that and everything. And then it turned into how about, that's at the same time I'm getting there, right? Mm-hmm. That's actually before I left. Right. Before I left. That's how it started. CJ is getting me there to train, so mostly his game athletes and his competitors and everything. It's like, why don't you write a template that we can have for our one-on-one athletes as well. I was like, all right, and then percentage of it and all that stuff. At the time, I was like, first of all, it would be a good source of income at a time where I'm just starting to make money. So I was like, I wouldn't be bad because I would like to have a better life. And it was like, then we can sell it, like online through their own online programming stuff and everything. It didn't turn out exactly the way I thought it would. Because first of all, I was never in favor of doing a template because it's telling people what to do and not how to do it. So I was like, but at the same time, a lot of people were asking me, especially after the Barbershock podcast, could you help me get to the type of workout that you do? So now I'm kind of stuck with my ass between two chairs. Well, I'm not entirely comfortable about the format, but it's better than anything. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, it's a good source of income. So I was like...
And at that point, you didn't have as many channels of communicating the whole scope of what you're doing. So you're like, I got to get out what I can get out.
Right, I have to get out something. If I don't, then people are going to get that kind of programming from someone else trying to bank on my own thing.
Without the whole context.
And get fucked up doing it. Yeah. So I felt like somewhat of a responsibility is a big word, but I was like, look, I can probably help more than not, right? If I put it on a balance, it's more toward help than not by providing a template. So I was like, all right. Then the Invictus stuff started, right? But that's not the format I wanted. So I was like, all right, so I'll do my own. And then we started doing that, and it was good. And it never felt right. And source of income, don't give a shit. It was like, that's not the point. The point is either it's right or it isn't. And so we tried different format to see how we could make it work. And 3 years later, I can't. Mm-hmm. I am not happy with telling people what to do, because that's what the template is. Because at first I thought if I explained what I wanted in the template, I could change the behavior of people.
Yeah.
Right? So call me naive, but I thought like I'll do the template differently and tell people look for this, look for that. And I would get them to slowly go after how to do the template instead of what to do. That was my goal when I set up. It's like I'll do template, but I'll do template my way. What I discovered 3 years later is that I didn't get what I wanted. I can explain all I want in the template how people should do things. At the end, it turns out that people just do what it says on the paper, and so then it becomes objective based. Yeah. Just like the stuff we talked about, which is exactly what I don't want. So I'm sure a lot of people got good from it, but it goes against my belief as to how we should do things. Yeah. So even though it does some good, at some point I had to choose between that good that we're doing, but versus me putting something out there that does not make me feel proud of what I do. Yeah. So I decided to stop. And so there's nothing or insult that you can throw at me that will, that will make me change my mind on this, because that's why we created the ART group. That, it's a lot more money, obviously, because that way I feel I can make an impact. I will not do something where I feel that goes against what my, I don't know what you call it, belief toward life is. And my belief is it's about constraints, not objective. That's the best way I can explain it. That's why I love the novelty search, because it allows me to phrase and to shape, to explain how I see things better.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about, I think there's a bit of a hierarchy of things that are like the most effective way to learn and progress down towards the least, right? I think up towards the top is going to be like deliberate learning, maybe one-on-one coaching, blah, blah, blah. Those things will gradually go down.
Not even that.
Well, but you go down into something like group classes, there's a bit of a compromise. Then you go down to the point where it's just a training template. There's the least amount of information getting given between you and them as any format that we could come up with.
And speaking of this, even if my template is exactly what I want and all that stuff, first of all, you won't get the result that I want. But second of all, what difference then between what we do and like people understand how the templates are being created. Like a lot of guys, you receive like a week template or 2 week templates. Trust me, they've been written for 16 weeks blocks. Mm-hmm. So how personalized is it exactly? Come on. Like even the one-on-one templates, most of the time they just follow a formula and everything. I am not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with this within the fitness industry. Yeah. That's my problem. I think the fitness industry is banking on your incapacity that to a lot of people have to put in the work when it comes to them. And I don't blame people for that, because again, I think this is an objective-based thing that is taught. That is not even taught, that is just pounded into us since kindergarten.
It's the way society is ordered at this moment.
And that it is the way it is, right? Yeah. But no one takes care of that more than the medical world and the fitness industry, right? This is pills, where they tell you that if you're depressed, if you have depression, those pills will help. I'm like, define health. It'll make you feel slightly better. And by that, they mean it's going to numb how bad you feel about a situation. Right, which means you'll be on those pills forever, because the problem is the situation itself. Yeah. But by saying that's when they say, for example, depression is a medical condition, when they're saying is the problem is you. Yeah, in a sense, but you know what the real problem is? You're not changing your life. Like maybe there's a few out there where it's a chemical process problem because they had brain injury stuff. Okay, but to most people that suffer from depression, the problem is you don't like your life. You're not acting on it. Like I'm oversimplifying, right? Mm-hmm. But there are things in your life that need to be dealt with, traumas in the past, right, that are very hard to deal with. But guess what? Taking a pill that numbs the signals is the least helpful thing.
That's not progress.
And by the way, when doctors tell you you're going to feel better and everything, we know that 80% of people that take, because there's actually a scale that they judge depression on, it's like 58 points. They've been tested where you take those pills and you go up by like 2 or 3 points on that scale. Like when they make people sleep correctly for a week, they went up by 8 points. Exercise has been shown to be just as good, if not better, than those pills. It's just not true. Like the whole pill, just take a pill, you'll feel better. No, you'll feel less bad.
Yeah. Well, I think comparing the templates to that pill version is it does make a lot of sense.
So maybe that's not what we sell, but it doesn't matter because at the end, it's amongst the other ones. It makes me feel like that's what we sell.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to feel like that about something that I do.
Well, just because you can make money in it doesn't mean you need to do it. That's the way I look at it too, especially if it doesn't line up.
And it is good income, don't get me wrong. So I understand why some people do it. It's very good income. This is blood money.
Well, let's make this point, right? The templates are less effective and don't represent the way you want people to learn. You don't want to teach that way. You don't want people to train in a mindless, uninvolved way also. However, we very easily could have simply left the templates as they are and just you sign up, you start on day one, and there's 100 and some weeks sitting out there, and we could have just collected your money forever and had no problems with it.
You know what we could do? We could even rotate from the beginning. You wouldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
And we could make probably a few grand a month. Yeah. This is, by the way, so you guys know, this is what we walk away from. We walk away, Richard, what is that, $2,000-$3,000 a month? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're walking away from that. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, just let it go because it doesn't represent where you want to be at the moment.
And then I have a client that is $2,000 a month paying me, to coach, and I'm going to walk away from that too because I don't like the way the relationship is going.
Yeah,
I don't do blood money, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how far are we from prostitution?
Well, how unsatisfying? You only have so many hours in a day, so many days in a week. How unsatisfying can it be having your time and your everything tied into something that's not getting you what you want out of it?
I don't do this. This is prostitution to me.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. StrongFit is not a business. StrongFit is how I run my life. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing this. So this is why I discontinued the template. And if you think telling me that makes me uncivilized, good. Then I don't want to live in your civilization.
Definitely. Well, and I think
I am uncivil.
And that ties in very well to what we've been talking about is those templates turn into, not just what they are as training, but for businesses.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Turn into an objective, and your objective
by the way,
is money.
I think that exactly, and I think that's my mistake. Yeah. Thinking like I could turn a template into a constraint-based thing.
Yeah, instead of an objective.
Yes, and I'm wrong because, and again, I don't blame people because that's the way it went. The second you put one foot in it, you cannot not turn it into an objective. So to me, the template and objective-based is the dark side of the force. Remember when Yoda says like, whenever you give to it, forever will it dominate your destiny? By the way, that's an absolute statement, which is supposed to be a Thesis Lord kind of thing.
Yoda plays both sides of the card.
I kind of feel it's an absolute statement. Anyway, only the Sith deals in absolutes. That's what Ben cannot be said. So I find it a little bit strange. Anyway, especially since technically Yoda said it after that. Anyway, so my mistake was to think for a second I could take my constraint-based things, put it in a format that is objective-based, and get anything but people turning it into objective-based. So what? Not because that means that a measure becomes a target.
Yeah.
And so I do not believe it can be done in that format. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't believe it.
Which also means, though, that your target, as in the way that you're trying to do things in coaching and teaching, is not, well, just make money on this thing. That obviously is not it, because
that's an objective.
We're going to cut, exactly. Which means we're going to cut this for this reason, because it's not right for us.
It's not right.
Yeah. And so
it's not right for you guys either. It's not the right way.
Yeah.
It is not the proper way to learn. And to me, continuing the template, especially, sorry, I'm still sick. By the way, just little rabbit hole. Whenever I do the training with the neoprene, I'm better that night and the next day. I didn't train yesterday. I'm sicker today.
Really?
Yeah. It's the fight mode. Anyway, I believe that the template, I thought I could turn it into something that is not giving a pill for depression, but at the end, that's what this is. Mm-hmm. What I'm doing in a way is I'm stopping you from learning, because you need to find your own constraints. You need to find your own way to move forward. If you've done the templates, you see how repetitive they are. Like you should be able to program for yourself. That's what someone actually said that I thought was a very good point when he was like, why don't you do a template to teach people how to program for themselves? I was like, all right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That would be a template I would be interested in doing in that sense, but I don't know that just on paper is enough. But that was a good point.
Yeah. It would have to be very conversational still, I think, a little bit.
Right, so that's another problem. Is it feasible? Yeah. That's another problem. But the point was a good one.
Yes.
I'll agree with that one. That I thought was a good point.
Yeah, and I don't know of any, I mean, there might be, but I don't know of anyone that does that, which means it's an interesting challenge.
They're going to call it a certification or stuff like
yes,
that.
Yes, that is what it is, isn't
well,
it?
There's a few, like OPEX does it, people like that, because they have but then it's a system, right? So you want me to systemize StrongFit, which is not feasible. So can I systemize, can I make a system based on constraints? That's the real question. I believe that I could, but you could turn it into an objective-based one so easily. Yes, and gaming is objective-based. So if your objective is to learn to program, then I cannot give you constraints. You already turn it into an objective-based.
And as soon as you're gaming it, though, also, like the moment that becomes a possibility, then all of your inputs are cloudy because everything now is subject to your own judgment, which now is a mess because you're gaming it.
Remember, there's a purpose, an objective, and a constraint, and they're all different. I'm going to go into it, but explaining through my case so it's easier. Before we go there, you had a very cool article that you showed me that I would like you to
so this
just explain the big points.
So this is the role with kind of just some of the black swan stuff,
I'm just going to grab my coffee.
I like how organized I keep these things.
See, like he's trying to... Tyler, I'm almost married. Just like you need to accept this as a fact. Like, I know you haven't seen your wife in a while, but this is not right.
How far are you going? Can you reach that pink glass?
I'm fine.
No, can you reach the pink glass? All the way over there?
Yep.
We're really doing it.
We are playing with fire on the podcast. There we go. And we're succeeding. So this is our new sponsor. And but the number of times you've shown that logo,
it is actually funny. They don't sponsor us at all. I don't even know what they are. No, but I feel we should get paid.
This is how we go. By the way, this is how we're going to make up the difference for the template. Yeah, we're going to get sponsors on the podcast.
That's fine. We're like, listen, it's like, remember the movie Wayne's World? Where he's like, listen, it's not all about money. And he just sits back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
that's how we're going to do. But him, was more like audio-based.
Mostly, yeah.
So, but we're still going to do it only visually because that's what we do.
Yeah. It's product placement. What we do is we'll just pitch.
Yeah, because I refuse to pitch anything. So you, but you can buy a space on my sweatshirt. How about that?
So we've been sponsored mostly by StrongFit and Dragon Ball Z lately.
Exactly. So you know, like the gis in Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah.
So you get to buy a spot on my sweatshirt. I will go that far. It's expensive.
Yeah. You got to ask, and if you got to ask, you can't afford it.
Because I tried with Lululemon and chocolate milk and got nowhere. So you guys gonna pay. Once I'm famous,
So we had talked about in the past, and you had mentioned a point when we're talking about the Black Swan, where preparing for Black Swan events is that sitting back in this very basic, safe environment is going to prevent you from making progress. And you made a point where working a high-paying job is actually going to get in the way of you ever becoming rich. And so I started looking for some data behind that a little bit to support it.
There you are.
Well, just to see, because you see but you get a better picture of it when you kind of see what really is happening outside the concept.
Yes,
and they said, this is very funny, these numbers don't sound like a lot, but people who switch jobs
on average,
every 2 to 3 years is the number they're going. 2 to 3 years you switch jobs, earn way more money than those who stay in the same job for 10 years. And
but explain by how much.
Yep. So here's it's simple though. The numbers, job switchers' pay goes up only 0.6% more than those that don't. However, over the course of an entire career, that is a lot of money. Meaning, staying employed at the same company for more than 10 years on average lowers your career lifetime earnings by 50%.
50.
According to Forbes.com. So,
shit.
That's crazy.
So if you stay at the same company over 10 years, over a lifetime, you will make 50% less money, half as much money. Because when you switch, so explain what I was saying because, sorry.
So
what happens when you switch?
So what happens when you switch is basically, let's see here. You change jobs, the average pay boost is between 10 and 20%. But where am I at here? Pay increases 15, 20. I got to get to the right spot. Here's another one. Climbing the wage ladder by moving to different employers, though, is not effective until you're past entry-level positions, which makes sense with all the other things we're talking about. Like, you do have to be good before you can just be getting paid.
And what was very interesting, you were telling me reading this, is that the key too is because if you leave every 2-3 years, you get to a position of power when you get to the next one, and then you can.
You're always negotiating from a place of leverage.
You can negotiate it better.
Yeah, and you have, and the other thing here's what I like is they did draw this conclusion that I enjoyed. Is where did they say it? I'm not going to find their exact quote, but what they said was basically the conclusion they're drawing is also the type of person who is going to switch jobs, like that, after they've built a skill set that's not like a reckless, unemployable person. That's 2 to 3 years, right? But those are the types of people who go out and constantly seek new challenges.
Are the ones that are great at what
and they
do.
value themselves.
And you know why they new challenge? Because they need the creativity, they need more complexity in their life. Because once they reach a certain stage, to become a better person, they need more complexity. So they seek. If they've done it already, they're done. They want something new. Yeah. But also, what's interesting in this is they were saying that on average, the salary increase is very close to inflation.
Yep. Normally, it's very close to inflation.
And you're not going to see a boss really paying you the same amount of money for you to do something different than what has been working. Yeah. Like imagine if they call you close to inflation, that means they want something solid, right? You've been there for 10 years. What if after 10 years, like why would he pay you the same amount of money for you to try something new that 9 times out of 10 will fail?
Yeah.
That was the point I was making. Imagine hiring me. Exactly. There is no boss on this earth that would hire me. Imagine what I would do to your company in 6 months.
You're not going to sell a lot of insurance, I'm afraid.
No, but like, and I'd be worse than that. I would be changing. Like the company would never follow with the rate of progress that I have. Like I learn at such a high rate. No company could survive this. StrongFit can barely survive.
Yeah. We're scrambled to keep up behind it.
Yeah, and it's 4 of us. Like a large company would have died already. Yeah. I would have to quit. If I was CEO if StrongFit was bigger, I would have quit already. Yeah, I would have given it to one of you guys the role of CEO, and I would be in the back somewhere doing stuff because it would never work. Like no one can hire. Imagine you guys that have gyms or a head coach. Imagine hiring me as a coach in your gym. Right, exactly. So So even if you were to pay me $50 an hour and I work 6 hours a day, like. I would quit for the good reason that within 6 months when I have a new idea, you'll be like, whoa. So maybe you listen to me once, twice. And now in the first 6 months, I come up with 15 different ways to change the gym. Right? Even if all of them were to work, which is less than likely, especially at that rate, it wouldn't be your gym anymore. It'd be my gym. So you wouldn't like it. So you know what I mean? Like none of this can work. Yeah. Imagine how a boss would feel if, and that's corporate America for just corporate the world. It's not America, it's the world. Imagine as a boss, as a manager, if you have an underling that comes up with great idea that do not benefit you. You would fire that guy because he makes you look bad every single time. And anybody working in corporate knows what I'm talking about. This is actually a major problem, is what underlings have ideas that cannot benefit their direct managers. They get fired because the manager suddenly just looks bad. Yeah. So now you're threatening his job. That happens. There's a name for a number of stuff like that and everything. The only way you make it in corporate world is that if your idea benefits your manager more than it benefits you, and then you move up, and then it's you who will basically use the ideas of the guy below you.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's
the way it works. That's objective based.
With say moving to taking on a new challenge. When you talk employment and pay and stuff like that, what I always found was if I started in the field making no money, not good at it at all, right? So I was worth nothing. I mean literally the minimum wage is what I started, like $7.25 an hour. So
Was that the minimum wage when I started?
With a child.
I started at 9.
Yeah.
$9 an hour, working a pool hall. Yeah.
South Dakota minimum wage, buddy.
Yeah, but I was in Los Angeles, and $9 an hour sucks.
Yeah, definitely. I could at least live for cheap.
Yeah.
But what happens was, you spend a couple years, 2-3 years at this place, and you do learn, and you get better. and you make a little bit more money, but then that person still sees you. You got to remember, we talk about getting better. You have to change as a person.
Yeah.
Well, your employer, unless they really do believe that as a concept, you're still the same person that was worth $7 to them. And they don't view that you have changed and improved. So you may get a little as you go, but that they're not going to be, wow, this is a totally different.
You're going to be at $9 an hour 3 years from now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then you go to a new place, and your skills in the way you are, that is who you are. So when you talk to them, they can recognize, see, and appreciate that value.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that starting point, you're not going to get much further than that in one big segment, because they're not going to see that change in you over that amount of time.
Unless you come up with that Black Swan event that changes. Sorry. that changes the whole company.
Yeah. Well, and I looked at it like this: is I got good skill sets with which I wanted to take into another place, and if the place I'm working at isn't going to give me the money or the resources to do it, you know, like
and by the way,
and the latitude to have ideas, then I go to another place and do it, because then I am in an opportunity to have something.
And by the way,
click.
what if the place you're in doesn't have the structure to implement your idea, no matter how great it is? Then they can't do it, because then you would wreck the company.
Yeah. And in the end, it worked for me perfect, because I had taken all these satisfying steps, learn, progress, move on, increase. And so I was making good money. However, I was nearly topped out in that field. It could have, another 10 years isn't going to double my income there, you know, which meant, well, here I am money-wise for the next however many years. I don't know how this is going to be.
Am I cool or not? Yeah.
And that wasn't it for me. And fortunately, I had enough other interests to where the other challenge felt more compelling. So just burn that boat and move on to the next thing, start over.
Yeah.
And so, but that's it. But if my target was income,
yeah,
on purpose, it's because I'm making a choice to build something with a higher ceiling.
But you'll notice,
and I think that's important.
But you'll notice that that follows the S curve, even in a company.
Yeah.
You start, you stall, then you make a lot more, and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
Everything is an S curve. The only way you get out of it is by creating the next one.
Well, and that was it for me. You go up here, you ride that curve out, things plane out, and I'm done. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I'm out.
And when it's your interest is an S curve as well. You always work the same way.
And so what happens is we fulfilled this thing, and it's not about where we go from there. It was paradigm shift.
So
now we build.
Let's apply that to training, so that people are like, please tell me what to do.
Yes.
Before we go there, I have to go with measurement, because that's going to be an important part of the conversation. So a lot of people, that's my biggest problem right now with what I see in the world we're in. And by that, I mean the fitness industry, is the problem of measurement. They all focusing on data, but they don't understand what data is in a sense. Everybody wants to measure things as a means for improvement. You can't do that. That's not what measurement is. Measurement is just like, this is where you are. A measurement only is valid if you have another one after that, and if you see the difference between the two. Like, I know that's what everybody thinks, that's what I'm doing. No, but that's not how the system works. Like, you're looking at measurement, at data, as a way to improve. That's the problem, is that...
those data points aren't a dial that you can turn
and plus, it doesn't, like, the problem is that turns you into an objective-based mechanism, because I look at data 1, then I look at data 2, and I draw a line. And I'm like, this is what got me from 1 to 2. Naturally, you will draw a pattern and say, I'm going to do more of that and get to data 3, data 4. And if it keeps going up like that, naturally, all I have to do is repeat what I've done, and I'm going to keep going up. First of all, you're not seeing the fact that it's an S-curve, which means you will stall. And second of all, if you see stalling, if you look at data as a means for improvement, the second is stalls, you're going to think you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't. It will stall. Everybody always does. It's an S-curve, and then it will, right. So the problem with looking at data as a way for improvement is like you're misinterpreting data. You're making the data do something that it doesn't. So what do you see that as a problem? I said the in-body scan. I remember like people lost their mind. It's like, it's not correct, but you're missing the point. The point is not whether I'm at 15, 13 or 11% body fat. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
There's no competition for body fat stuff, and there's, at the end, by the way, the only thing that matters is how I look in the mirror anyway, right? Right. And the light, by the way, even on that, the light changes things. There's a magic mirror in Kuwait in bodybuilding that is very famous.
Yeah.
Does it matter? You have filters on your phone. So even the picture that you take, the measurement is not that simple. Even if I don't apply a filter, the light that I'm using still matters. You see, I mean, it never matters.
What did they say? It's like, what did they say? It was in bodybuilding. It was like, it's basically 60% lighting. You know?
Right. So, but that's the problem with all measurements are that like you can manipulate any measurement to make it sound what you want. Like there's a lot of people out there that say I do data, my approach is scientific. No, it's not, because what you're doing is measuring what you want in a way that you want. So at the end, it says what favors you. Like it's, you know, I talked about Maxwell's demon. Demon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it or watch the video, The Demon in the Machine, that we did, the podcast. Yep. It's like the demon is like, you know, it's that unit of measurement that is inside you that's basically going to look at what information comes in. And you have a demon inside you that decide whether a information that is good for you, that validate like a confirmation bias is good, you let him in. An information that you don't like, you don't let him in. We all have that demon. Yep. But the stronger your belief system is, the stronger that demon is. The more you base your stuff on observation, the weaker the demon becomes. When your entire business relies on what you do working better, guess what? That demon becomes stronger as it goes, because naturally you're going to favor. So that doesn't mean you're cheating. That doesn't mean you're cheating, but you're basically going to start having measurement tools that favor you, units that favor you, stuff like that. So people that say, look, I put 10 kilo on your power clean, or the squat example we used on Wednesday. Well, I gained 40 pounds on my squat. Yeah, but you just put a squat suit on.
Yeah.
That invalidates, because suddenly you do things differently. But then there are different ways to cheat the system just by the person squatting exactly the same way. Yeah, but there are other ways to measure the thing so that, you know what I mean? Like that's, so if you use measurement as a way of improvement, you're failing. You're already in objective-based stuff. The only thing that a measurement is that it's a measurement. So in that sense, sorry again. The only thing that it does is you take the measurement A and then you take measurement B, whether progress or not. That's the only thing that matters. So that in-body scan that I did, doesn't matter if I'm actually 11% or 15%. It only matters that I do the same measurement, which means in the same conditions, right? And then we see what happens. Right, which is the point I was trying to make when I did those pictures. And then I had that one asshole who came by and said, you did the test differently. I'm like, no, I didn't. Well, I can see the numbers here don't make sense. They don't make sense for another reason, because I did the measurement exactly the same way. It's like, so you're not exactly that percentage. But I don't care.
Yeah.
I look the way I look. Who cares? That's not what a measurement is.
It's like, I'm not getting this number tattooed on me, bro. Like, that's, right. You know what I mean?
Like, what is that number giving me anyway?
Yeah.
You know, like that's the problem, is suddenly the objective-based mentality gives you that fallacy of good and bad.
Yes.
That's the problem. Yeah. And so suddenly there's a moral judgment. That's a task negative network thing. There's a moral judgment associated with that number. So if I say 11%, like, dude, I know what 11% is. You're not 11%. Like, I'm not saying to say I'm better than you. I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying my body fat went down. So the point I was trying to make, for example, with me was like, I'm at the same body fat percentage or less, and I've gained 6 kilos of muscle. Because I can prove, because my percentage didn't go up.
Yeah.
So unless I fucked up the test, which I didn't, because I did it in the same conditions, it shows you that I've gained muscle, which is all I was trying to say. But the competition is not about whether I'm at 11, 13, or I'm 25% body fat if you guys want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Why do I give a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, say I'm 25%.
Well, plus, like,
the question is, am I staying at 25% and am I gaining weight? Because if that's the case, then I'm getting muscle. And some people will say, well, you don't know that. Yes, because the in-body scan showed muscle gain as well.
The question is, what's your fucking point of anything that you're trying to do?
Right.
Does that number matter in any way? To you? Probably not. Other than that, in your line of work, it's good to have some check marks to know, to what word, like put a flag somewhere so you know where you are.
Right, but that's the problem. So objective-based people put so much information on data because it's a way for them to say, see, I'm good, or in that case, I'm better than you, or whatever. So if you look, most of the scientific literature is about proving that their measurement is better than yours. Mm-hmm. Look at what they attack people on. You didn't measure it correctly.
Look at every single time you or almost anybody puts up anything saying, "Look at what I'm doing." Body fat scan or something like that. So often it's, well, this is inaccurate. There's only this one is the best.
People has never attacked me on the logic of my points. Mm-mm. They have always attacked me on the measurement process. Right. That is just a way for you to say, I'm superior to you.
And also never about the results.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
So outside to say you're selling something.
Yeah.
So that shows you, like, you know, people have that need to say, don't say this is good, because then you're saying something about me, which is that. But that's the problem with objective-based stuff. It leads you into that good versus bad, so it becomes a moral conversation.
Yeah.
Like and so people feel attacked right away. Why? Because the second you're in moral, you're in a task negative search, and attack on self is part of that. So don't look at measurement as a way to progress, because again, by the way, measurement goes up like this. So again, you're going to try to duplicate that, which cannot be done, because at any step you don't know what the next step is. So what you're trying to do is to calculate the future by doing that. I went from A to B. If I do the exact same thing, I'll get from B to C at the exact same rate. That's Newton's laws of movement. Right, except the world is not deterministic, and you do not have control of everything in your life in a way that allows you to do that. And on top of it, you don't know what the next stepping stone is.
Well, exactly.
And there's a fucking S-curve in the middle anyway.
And you're trying to manipulate the results from now to the future using tools that don't have any fucking say in how that goes. That's the way I look at it. Those tools are pictures. Meaning you can't just, it's a snapshot. You can't just move those things
you can
forward
only measure what you know.
And change the filter. Yeah.
To measure, you need a tool and a unit. That means you already need to know what you're measuring.
Yeah.
So since you don't know where the stepping stone is, you don't know what you're measuring.
So what do we need to measure?
Constraints.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, so we need to have measurement. Okay, so that's the key. Is you need to measure something toward your purpose, but not toward an objective. So what is a purpose? So I'm going to use me as an example. You can. It's not that you understand why I'm doing this, because I need to make it very specific so you guys understand the way of thinking. Then you're going to have to adapt it to yourself. My purpose is strength, right? I want to get stronger. Is that an objective? No, an objective is a target. It's something much narrower, like getting good at squatting, like squatting 400, not even getting good at squatting, because how do you define that? It's, but an objective is a target. It's like I need to squat 500, because then you start gaming. How can I gain getting strong? That's a point. It's a purpose. I can't game it, right? Because it's too big of a target for me to game it.
Yeah, because if you're, that's exactly it. You can't get stronger without getting stronger.
Right.
But you can.
What does that even mean?
But you can put 100 pounds on your bench.
Right.
Well, not necessarily. No, you're not bad. You
know, you can
put 50 pounds on your squat.
Yeah.
Throw on a suit, change the way you do it a little bit,
Something on the bench,
and not get much stronger.
I've seen guys that needed
just get fatter.
A suit just to bench 100 kilos.
Or the way I tell people.
I've seen it many times.
Just if you want to get good at bench, just get fat as shit.
Yeah.
You will get better. Put on 20 pounds of fat and your bench will go
Exactly,
up.
right. So,
but you're not stronger.
Exactly. You just reduce your range of motion, right? So I've seen women getting huge fake boobs in powerlifting so that they, huge fake boobs in powerlifting so that they reduce the range of motion. Yeah. Technically, they got stronger.
I thought about doing that, but it's not.
Well, I do want a big chest. You look a bit weird because I'm kind of broad already.
But I'll just go synthol, like those weird.
The fake bicep.
Yes,
it's so good. But technically, you benched more. So technically, you're stronger.
Yeah. So choosing what you're chasing is really. So you're saying stronger. That's the target.
Right. So now we're going to define that. Right? So what is strength? If strength is, by the way, is being strong going into a powerlifting competition and winning. Not necessarily, because all you did was to beat the people there. Mm-hmm. Right. So now we're buying objective. So if you just want to be the people there, you're not saying that you want to be strong. You say you want to go higher on a social scale, like on a hierarchy scale. Right. There are many ways to do that. Your brain, through your intelligence or whatever. So you just want to go up the hierarchy of physical strength. But it's still about beating other people. It's still not about you. So you know what I mean? That's where all that argumentation comes in, because a competition is an objective.
Yeah.
Right. My goal, you do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying my goal is to be stronger. So what does that mean? To be better this year than last year. Mm-hmm. Right? To be stronger. How do I gauge that? Over a number of exercises. But again, the point is not to get better at those exercises. It's not that. It's just, those are just measures. But if I know if I'm throughout, everything goes up, I'm kind of cool.
I view the list of those exercises, those are your opportunities to find some gold.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes yours can dig a little dirt. There might not be anything there, but that process skill that you use will give you the results if you keep that.
Exactly. Up. But anyway, so how do I gauge if I don't set objectives? How do I move forward? Right, that's what the constraints are. So we'll explain the constraints of getting strong. Like, what are the constraints? Well, strength we know is neural output. Sorry. Sorry about that. Neural output, skill, capacity of the muscle to contract. So we can call that hypertrophy. That's actually not true. That's not hypertrophy, my bad. It's quality of muscle.
Yeah.
Capacity of the muscle to contract, right? So the capacity of the muscle to create a stronger contraction. And it's hypertrophy can help, but that's not what hypertrophy, that's not hypertrophy. So I have to be careful how I phrase it. 3 things: neural output, skill, capacity, muscle quality. Let's just, because it's easier for me.
It's almost, quality even is tricky because that takes on a physical effectiveness or whatever.
So for the sake of argument, let me say muscle quality, because it means the capacity of the muscle to contract, right? So the greater the capacity, so let's call it muscle quality just for sake of argument.
Perfect.
So it's easier for me to say.
Yeah.
Those 3 things. So let's talk one at a time. Neural output, skill, muscle quality. So skill, that's where you can have a conversation. What are the exercises that you believe skill-wise are necessary to express strength? So that's a personal thing. Do I think the squat with a barbell is a good demonstration of strength? Personally, not really. Am I biased? Of course I'm biased. I'm better at carrying than powerlifting. So I'm always going to think carries are better. But if I look at wrestling, that's another. We can have a long conversation about this. And by the way, there's no right or wrong on this. Nobody is wrong. Nobody's right. I am not right to believe that carries are what matters the most.
And if I am just the art and the challenge of this barbell squat is something I appreciate. What that means though is the same fucking reason that you and I cannot play with the same sets of constraints.
Yes.
I cannot jump on your thing because we're gonna end up chasing things that we don't fucking want.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Right. So, yes, exactly. Right. And on top of it, we don't have the same needs. So first of all, we're going to have neural output, skill, and muscle quality. So you and I will have a completely different metrics on that. Right. So now what you have done so far, I've not taken you to where you want to be. Right. I want a 600-pound squat. So nothing I've done so far is taking me there. I got stuck at 550. So guess what? The next epic stones, I don't know where it is. But it's obviously not linear because I can't find it. I stalled again. I need to find the next one. How do I do that? Not through an objective, through a constraint. I'm like, all right, I need to get better at the squat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what I haven't done. Right? Which muscle are strong as shit from what I've done, but which ones are the one that lag behind? Right. So how would I do that? I can use the 1, 2, 3 matrix that we talked about 2 podcasts ago, right? 1, 2 versus 3. Which one did not develop, not even at the same rate, is lagging behind. You're only as strong as your weakest link, kind of thing. All right, so let's find the weakest link. So I have my matrix, right? 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3 is, kind of upper pec and up. 2 is pec and all the way to the groin, and then 1 is below that, right?
Yeah. All 2 is probably mostly including glutes.
That's
tricky, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
let's just go generally.
Let's go generally. For a general purpose.
About the middle of you, the top of you, and the bottom of you.
I like it. We can only bottom is done, median is done, and top is done. Those are the countries we're going to visit, right? Just to make it simple. So that's my matrix, and I want strength. So then I'm going to go neural output, I'm going to go skill, and I'm going to go muscle quality. So I'm going to look at 1, 2, and 3 on. Am I capable to generate neural output? Am I capable of having skills in those movements? And then muscle quality. And this will tell me, like once I put it on paper, it is very, very obvious what I suck at and what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was trying to explain. And I saw that, for example, for me, I can tell you that neural output in 3 is absolutely atrocious. What do I mean by that? Strict press, explosive strict press for a single without using my 2, right?
This is important.
Horrible.
This is also important to be as a standalone because just because you can move weight up overhead strict, if you're having to use so much of your 2.
So I did a 260 pound strict press, which most people think is good. Actually, for a strongman, it isn't. But I did 260, so it's 115 kilos. It's not bad, right? But if you look, I'm using my lat, my 2. Almost always. So what I used to do is I used to use my 2 one way in ET and then use my 2 in IT in order to finish the movement using very, very little triceps. So it worked till 260, but now my 3 lag behind. So in order to get better, guess what I have to do? What I haven't done. Now, how do I develop my 3, so that shoulder press explosively without using the 2? I don't know because I haven't done it. That's the point.
So you need to try.
Right, I need to try everything.
Things.
Right. So, by the way,
with the idea though, you're trying things, but you do know. Yeah, that narrows what you got to look for, right?
Constraint.
So you know, right?
So I know I need to know my 3 neural output. Yeah. Why? Because skill-wise, I'm okay. Yeah. I still need to work on it, obviously. And muscle quality, we're going to talk about this. It's okay, but I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we look at all of it, that whole section of your body is.
I have enough shoulders. Right. The biggest problem is neural output.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And so in capacity of muscle to contract, we have to put 2 things. We have to put muscle qualities and size, I think, and capacity to develop that muscle. Yeah. Even though size is not, we have to put quantity and quality.
Yeah.
Muscle quantity, muscle quality. I think we have to put those 2.
Yeah. Because there is a case, there's both sides of the case, right? Yeah. Oftentimes you'll see someone who's having trouble with the thing and it's like, it's just not there. It's like, you've said it before, it's like the first thing we're going to have to fix is your small. Right. Like let's fix your small and then we'll go a little bit.
And then we're going to talk about this because that's actually the point of my hammies that are small but actually extremely strong.
Yeah.
And so the muscle quality is there, but the muscle quantity is always
there. The other side is you have situations, I'm in these cases where I have some muscles that are overbuilt that I have very little control over.
Right. Exactly. So you have the quantity, but you don't have the quality.
Exactly.
Like my glutes have a big ass, but right now it's not working properly. So we're going to talk about this. But before we go there, let's go back at the neural output. So me, for example, sorry again, being explosive in 3 without using the 2 is so hard. I suck. If you make me, I did that, the log the other day. I did the log press for a set of 10 using only 3, right? Not using the 2. And I swear I used the log plus 5 kilos on each side. And it was especially like this, right? Where normally, because on a barbell, I'm better because I can use my lats.
You're opened up a little more.
Yeah. When I'm on the log, I'm neutral grip. No 2, I was ashamed of myself. I don't have the front delt, like that strength is, and then more than I understand the skill is there. It's that capacity to generate the fight mode. I could not mentally go, boom, I could not punch it ever without using my 2.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how incapable of that I am in 3. So guess what? That's what I'm going to have to do. So reps is a little bit better than 1 rep max. I'm so weak in that sense, right? So I'm like, all right, so that's a constraint, which means my training, my program, right, has to go toward that because the other shit I've done, and it's not helping me go past where I'm at. So now I need to focus on that. So a constraint I could add, for example, is like I need to be explosive in order to gain strength. So for example, neutral grip seems to be worse for me, so that's probably toward that I'm going to go. I'm still going to change, and then maybe use bends because he'll force me to be
speed.
Yeah, so that could be
extra
constraints.
Stress on the triceps to lock out anyways.
Right. So you could add that as a constraint. So then suddenly I'm pressing a log with bends. And then I'm trying trying to figure out how to do it better. So I'll gain the skill and the neural output. But that's my objective is not the log with bends because getting better at that won't do anything. Yeah. The point is that just going to be, it seems to be what I need to do since that's where the constraints are. But within that, I can do so many different things. So then I'm going to keep on looking for it.
Yeah.
Right. And remembering this S curve. So the second I feel that the neural output has peaked with this, I need to switch right away to the next one. But I can still be getting stronger at the moment. Doesn't matter. My neural output has peaked for that. I need to switch.
Yeah. And you will determine what else you do based upon
all the constraints.
All that, right? So like I don't want to go, let's not go down the hypothetical route. Let's go to the next thing first.
Right. So I discovered also that the one is my VMO, right? So VMO, so at least I'm broad shoulders. I have muscle on my shoulder. That's easy. On my legs, especially VMO, so I have fairly thick legs when it comes down my ass because that's where I carry the power. When it comes toward my knees, VMO and everything, it's actually very small. So I'm neither quality or quantity. So that means that my constraint will be to build, for example, my VMO and all this in quantity and quality. I know I'll leak that. So can I generate neural output through my legs? Actually, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay because I've done, maybe it's because of jiu-jitsu, using my legs so much or whatever, like all my youth playing sports. But when it comes to my leg, I can actually generate neural output. That's how I squatted 550 with having no business squatting that much with those skinny legs. I'm always good at generating neural output, except for my shoulders. But so this is going to be, skill of squatting is good because I worked on it so much. My problem is muscle quality, quantity, and quality was in my 3. In my one toward the legs, I need to fix that. So then here are my constraints. All right, so quantity and quality. That means that if I want to do both, do a set of 20. You die at 15, you cannot get away from the bar until you get to 20, because 15 to 20 is going to be almost strength building, because everything is shot here, and then the VMO are going to have to take over. And that's when I freak out. Right, so my training will be obviously toward what gets me there. So front squat with a safety squat bar works better. Yeah. All right, so but that doesn't mean, but I cannot have the mindset of go from 20 reps to 22. Because then if I do that, what do I get? I get a neural output stuff on my legs.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to use my 2 again.
Yes, because you're going to focus mostly on that lift.
Or just getting from 20 to 22.
And not on fixing that problem.
So if it becomes about the reps, because suddenly I'm like, I know that the safety squat bar front squat will get me that. So I'm like, therefore, if I go from 15 to 20 reps, I get what I want. No, because I just turn it into a target, a weight, a measure as a way to improve. I just turn it into an objective. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to force myself to do the extra 5 reps or game the system to do 5 reps. What does that mean? That means I'm going to start using my 2, right, in order to get the last 5 reps, which is not putting the stress where it needs to be. Because now I'm not in 1 anymore, right? So the constraints will get me where I want, but you have to be very careful about trying to game the stuff, because now you're back into an objective mindset. So here are my constraints. And
didn't want to cough while you were talking.
Exactly. And it seems that the safety squat bar, front squat on the safety squat bar right now fits those constraints. Maybe 4 weeks from now it won't, but right now it seems to be getting the job. Eventually I'm going to run out of
and you still
stuff
have to
from
have
that exercise.
And you still have to have
switch.
some novel experimentation in there. Just because you know that helps with that. It's like I still got to have
more complexity.
Yeah, I still got to have opportunities to fucking hit a home run.
You need the opportunities. You need to keep throwing rocks. Sorry, man. We need to keep throwing rocks in the pond to create bubbles to see what needs to be done next, because I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know what are the stepping stones that are necessary for me to get to me being stronger. If I knew, I wouldn't have gotten stuck. I would be already there. I don't know. So this is where I need to move the stuff forward like that. But so those are the constraints, and the need for explanation is all that matters. You need to increase the complexity of your system. To do that, you need to introduce new variables all the time. So the front squat with safety squat bar is one weapon, but I need to look for the other one. And again, everything is an S-curve. At some point, I'm going to run out of steam on that one anyway. That's why the conjugate system is so cool. The conjugate system literally tells you, go explore, go find something you haven't done. Because to move forward, what you need to do is what you haven't done. That's a novelty search, right? So there are ways like that we can move forward. So, and then people will say, well, so what are the constraints? How do I know the constraints? Well, for example, the 1, 2, 3 matrix, right? Is one where we can do all that stuff. One that I find very interesting is something we've been playing with. Like we had the performance seminar, and on Sunday, Wim, our friend from Brussels, right, has a machine called Sculpt that measures body fat percentage and what they call muscle quality per body part. Right. So the point is not the measurement itself. I'm going back to the conversation I had. I don't care what the percentages of fat, if it's accurate or not, as long as it's consistent. As long as he measures it the same way, I don't give a shit.
If it's accurate to itself,
that's
we're
what
in
I'm
the same world.
Right. Yeah. And same thing for what they call muscle quality. I don't even care what they mean by muscle quality. It's not the point. I don't care about what they mean. I care about what it brings me. And the consistency of that throughout the body is the only thing that interests me. And again, I don't care what they mean by muscle quality. I'll tell you what I saw. When I measure my muscles with that, what I saw was very strong hammies, but the glutes are weaker, which is true, especially on the left. And the weakest part of my whole body was the left pec and shoulder. So what I found very interesting is that whatever that machine was telling me is what I felt using the neoprene.
Yes.
The second I put the neoprene on, it was my left glute. And I told you guys many times, the second I closed the neoprene jacket, my left pec got so warm with my left shoulder, especially my left pec got so warm. That machine was showing that this is the part of my body that has the lowest muscle quality.
Was there also wasn't an increase in fat?
Exactly the same places. So what I found interesting with the machine, And again, I don't care what they mean by muscle quality. What I saw, sorry.
Because you can only see, like we're talking, you can only see correlation, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Which for you, what it means though is it's like, I felt this. That does correlate to that in a narrow enough world for it's just you.
Right, so
it's not 1,000 people.
It's not measuring the body fat to me. It's not measuring the body fat percentage or muscle quality. What it seems to be measuring is your capacity for a fight mode for that muscle. What do I mean by that? Melanocortin access is if you access at the sympathetic nervous system, you start burning more fat. Right. So that seems to be what that fat percentage was per muscle. How do we know that? Because Wim has been testing it for a while, and we saw that using the neoprene within 2 weeks had reduced body fat had even out the body fat percentage. For example, on both arms for a woman, she had like a 15% body fat differential between the left and the right tricep, and the muscle quality was also, there was a vast difference between the two. We put the neoprene in 2 weeks, those numbers are much closer. And so what I saw when I put is that my feelings in the neoprene, my left pec being so warm when I train, freaking me out, same thing with my left glute, all those feelings had a numerical value that I recognized on the picture that machine was showing me. So suddenly I'm like, that is very interesting. So maybe what they call muscle quality is just the capacity of that muscle to be in fight. So imagine if I could add a number to that. And I don't give a shit what the number is. It would just mean like pec versus leg is literally was like a 50 to a 96 or some shit like that. That would tell me that whatever I did for my hammies is working. I made them not big, but very strong. Whereas for my pecs are big, but not strong at all. So that means that quantity is there, but not quality. Quantity isn't there, but quality is. That also means like, dude, stop working your hammies all the time.
Yeah.
It worked. But guess what? Your glutes are falling behind. So that could be the constraints too.
Because your glutes that are big are used in a specific way right now.
And they're not being...
Or has been for...
Actually, I did that to myself because I wanted to narrow down my squat because everybody says you have to do it as well. I wanted like bigger quads, which by the way, the machine showed also that I have no muscle quality in my quads. I was like, yeah, no shit. But I was like, maybe if I narrow my squat. No, because the only thing that I did was basically by going so narrow, because everybody, I stopped engaging my hips and my glutes, which is where my power is. So that's why I'm going back to exactly. Yeah. So now that brings me back to a point where I love the Campbell bar to squats leaning forward because I always felt it put me in a better fight mode. So there's a constraint for you. The constraint is you have to be able to generate the greatest fight mode in your exercise. So I don't care if you use a Campbell bar, a safety squat bar, a barbell, the high bar squat, low bar squat or whatever, you have to generate the maximum fight mode. Right, so let's say, for example, glutes, but especially the left, pecs, but actually the right pec is okay, the left pec isn't. All right, so I need, if I'm gonna bench, let's say I'm gonna bench, right? I need an exercise that engages the pecs better. All right, so what I did is I used that weird Campbell bar for benching, which basically makes me reach, we saw that yesterday, way back to till my hands are almost by my shoulders. Like lately, benching has made my right shoulder achy. Right? And I realized because I'm not engaging my left pec. So you would think do blocks. No, actually, I use the Campbell bar so my hands would go all the way down. And the second my left pec engaged properly, my right shoulder stopped hurting. So actually did reps heavy on that. And I don't feel my shoulder at all because I engage my left pec.
Well, and so often though, you can look into, I have pain in my right shoulder. Is this a problem with my right shoulder?
Exactly. When actually my problem was the left pec.
Exactly.
So I have to do all that shit and the mobility.
And it's not relative. The thing is that your right shoulder hurts because of an exercise that you do. Now your left side's not too
right. So, but now you have an objective mindset. You go like, I need to make my right shoulder better. So anything that gets me closer to that is good. So you start to do mobility because then my shoulder hurts less. But that's not the disease. Blocking the symptoms is not curing the disease. Yeah. It is not the same. So constraints means I need to engage my pecs better, which means whenever I bench, for example, I need to either use the Campbell bar or I need to do it with dumbbells. I need to do stuff that forces me to engage my pec. There's a constraint for you. Yeah. But the objective is not to get to be a champion at the Campbell bar because I'll find a way to do it that don't engage my pecs because that's what I would go back to because that's what I've been doing. Yeah. Right. So no, the constraint is those pecs have to be engaged fully. It's all right. So something that forces me to go further. Dumbbell, bench presses, that Campbell bar, whatever it is. So now I'm going to look for exercise that allow me to engage my chest fully paused, differently, like, I don't know, guess why? Because I never found a way to do it.
Yeah.
That's why this is not, the muscle quality is poor on this. So, and doing it yesterday, I felt I could put more into it. Now I realize how little neural output I've been putting on my left pec, which is low muscle quality. Quantity is there, quality is not. What I found very interesting is that machine was showing that. So that could be suddenly, that would be a good measure of the amount of fight that I can put in each muscle group. So that could allow me to define my constraints better. So now I need to know that no matter what I do, by the way, upper back is weak, quality-wise. So I know that my training right now is going to be toward my upper back to get the neural output up in my quality muscle, not quantity, but quality, on my upper back, glutes, and left pec. Right, so these are your constraints.
Yeah.
Right, so that suddenly you narrow down to a program when I go, that's very easy to do. So today I'm going to go fuck up my upper back.
Yeah. And you can pick up things that
in a good way.
You can pick up things that you kind of know will get you that stimulus, if you will.
It'll get me stronger.
But you also need to make sure that you're still picking things that are novel and new.
And that's the point, right? So because what you've done has now worked. Yeah.
Can you still? Should you still hang on to the things that you're training with that do work? Like let me rephrase this. So there's things that get you results, if you will, in your training, right? That are giving you some sort of progress. There's also maybe the things that just do make you feel good and enjoy your training a little bit, which is probably the things you do too much, which is why you're in these situations.
As long as they bring you a fight mode, it's all good.
Yeah. But what I'm wondering is, so now you have these constraints you want to place in yourself, right? Where does doing anything that's outside of those constraints fit? Like, can you still bench with a straight bar once a week while you do the other thing the other time a week, just because you like it? Sure, if you like it and it allows you to create fight. But remember, I'm not going to revert back to what I was doing. And so you always have to know where you're...
Well, but the problem is you're going back to an objective-based mindset where you think, but this gives me progress. So now you're thinking like...
I guess I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say
so if you're not saying that, it's okay, because otherwise, but whatever gets me closer to what I want is an objective-based mentality.
I'm thinking of building, of just, when we're talking about this, we're kind of constructing your system, your version of your training, right? And so with your version of training, though, you're probably still going to do some heavy carries and shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, but heavy carries have to target my 1 and my 3s.
Yeah.
Right, so no, I'm going to do the heavy carries, but I'm going to focus on my 1 and my 3s. I'm not going to do heavy carries in 2s.
Okay.
Because I've always done that, and it's like my lower back was in the whatever units it is, but it was in the high 80s or some shit like that. Like, it's plenty strong. Yeah. Like, am I going to get to 95? That will create compensation. That will if I put, here's the problem with that. If I put carries in 2s, I'm going to carry the weight where I've carried it before. Because that's what I know. So I'm going to put it in my lower back again, not working what needs to be done, which is my upper back, which is weak. So, for example, I want to do heavy carries. There's a constraint. I have to be in 3, right? So I have to target my upper back, not my lower back, because it's already strong. So instead of putting carries as far back as I can, making it as efficient as I can, and putting it straight on my lower back, I can put it higher, like what I tell people not to do, because it's going to crush my upper back. Yeah. So suddenly I'm going to be much weaker at the carry, but it's going to get me to where I want to be, which is a stronger upper back. Yeah. So can I still do 800-pound carries in the meantime? Yeah, sure. Like, do everything at once, try all that stuff, but understand that it might be too much for your. That you're gonna have to play with that.
And now that
can you still generate enough fight?
Well, now that I think about it, that is interesting, because there are only so many training resources that you have, right? So maybe that depends on the severity and the risk and everything in the gaps you're trying to fill.
And by the way,
so let's say you have an upper body issue, you have lower body issue. Both of them are kind of important for you to address to move forward. But that's for your objective, right? And if which is just getting generally stronger. If you had maybe just a couple smaller issues that you were working out, there are maybe more days in the week where you could still just do a bulk of some regular training and then work on these things as needed.
But now, but you're going to have to be very careful not falling into the trap of, I'm going to do 6 med counts a week and I want to get stronger. What do? Just add small off. Yeah. Right. Now we're back to objective-based mentality, where you think that doing what you do and adding work on your weaknesses will get you closer to your goal. That's an objective-based mentality. You don't know how to get better. Right. So doing more of what you've done before will not get you there. So now you're like, yeah, but if I'm being smart, I'm doing what worked before, and then I'm adding the stuff I haven't done.
So here's what I would look. I guess you're right, and you're right. I look at it though as anything that you're going to include that you're going to do from before should still fit into your constraints. That's the important thing.
First of all,
it should not be outside of it.
And there's going to be a part of it where it's that, but you're going to have to also allow you enough space to look for the new stuff.
Yeah.
So there's the balance.
Yeah.
There's a balance. And yes, what you do, no matter what you do, it has to be within the constraints, because you're trying to build a new person. Doing what you've done is not the key. You have to do something different within the constraints. Yeah. So if I do carries right now, it's building up the carries so my upper back can catch up.
Well, I think
by the way, once my upper back can catch up, I can do a normal carry, and within I don't know, like a 3-4 week block, I'll be right before.
Because what I don't want to say is like every single thing that you're doing in your training right now, you shouldn't be doing. You're totally fucking wrong. Because you know what I mean? I don't like that.
No, it's
like,
agree.
Listen, you might be onto something with a few of these things. You know what I mean? Not everyone's totally off base. So take a few of these things that fit within these rules. And then off we go.
Remember, I've had 1,000-pound year carry, so I know how to get there.
Yeah.
The problem is, at some point, my legs almost shattered, my upper back couldn't take it because 1 and 3s were a problem. I can always get myself back to 800 pound carry no matter what. But guess what? That's objective based. That could have broken me. It didn't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it wouldn't this time around. And that's not the point. That's the thing, is what am I chasing? Am I chasing getting strong? Okay, but that means getting strong everywhere, right? What if is carrying an 800-pound yoke making me strong? I've done 1,000 pounds, but what if my upper back can't take 500? Define strong. So again, you're gaming the system. When you say, if I do a 100-pound carry, I'm strong. Are you gaming the system? And the only person I can answer is you.
Yeah.
Right. So you have never done a heavy yoke carry. You're starting to understand where it is. Okay, that's skill based, right? So you have to. If I go back to the same skill as before using the exact same muscle, what am I trying to do exactly?
Yeah.
Right. It's here. So that you're gonna have to answer with yourself and stuff like that, right? So you have to still do the works that work, but again, it hasn't worked in getting you further. So what needs to stay, what needs to go?
And I think every time someone runs into a plateau for long, there is a point where the only time you're going to shake that is with like a fair amount of really like on point, truthful self-assessment, which I do, which is important, which I like about this kind of approach. You know, really, we're going to look at this objectively. We're going to take this information, come up with a plan. If you try to skew
if you game it.
Stuff. If you try to game your inputs into figuring out what you're gonna do, then you're just gonna stay where you're at.
Also, remember, a plateau is not a bad.
No,
it's everything follows an S curve. So that means that once you reach a plateau, it's just time to move on to the next stepping stone. And remember, you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Reassess where you are. Get the constraints going. New constraints, all constraints, are they still valid? Test, but as a measure. Not as a way to, that's what I do next. No. You just test. And based on those tests, you don't look what the tests were before. You just look at that test, and that test defines your constraints. Nothing else. But don't draw a pattern from the test from before to this test, because you don't know how to get to the next one. So each measuring exists on its own.
Yeah.
If you start to draw a pattern from the other one, you run the risk of going astray.
Yeah. Because when you do this, you see that you have this information. All right, I've ridden this wave to this point.
Yep.
All right, well, now I got to start trying to hop on some other waves for now.
Exactly. And it's a different wave. It's not the same wave.
Some of them might suck, but one of them might take me real far.
And it's not the same wave. You know, it's Heraclitus, right? Who say when a man will never cross the same river twice.
Yeah.
Because the river is not the same, and he's not the same man.
Yeah.
So you don't know where the next wave is. So look at measurement, saying that's where the measurement is this is where I am. Then you can look around for the next wave. But don't go, this is what I did on the last wave, so therefore the next wave. No, because the next wave is not the same. Right? So you cannot look at measurement as a way to draw patterns. That's a linear progression, and that's what school tries to do, and that's what an objective-based system is. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Novelty. Look, huge measurement to know where you've been so that you can do something new. That's it. That's all measurement is. So every time you reset, right? But you reset based on one measurement. That's all. It's like where I'm at right now and build the constraints. And if you do that, you'll get stronger anyway. but do not draw a pattern. Like, you did training, last time worked really well. I'm going to do it again. Exactly the same way because it felt good. Guess what? You're gaming the system. You're trying to recreate the same feeling, which you cannot because it's not the same river.
Yeah.
And
plus, if you've made progress, all those other things are new anyways.
You cannot cross the same river twice. So if you think you're going to create the last session as last time, you're mistaken. The river is not the same. You're not the same man. You cannot do it again. And so many of us have felt good on a movement like a snatch or whatever and go like, I want that again. But you can't. It's not the same river. You're not the same man.
Yeah, it turns into like the, you're just chasing the dragon after a while.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Get better.
Well, that's the deal.
Don't do the same thing. Just do better.
No, rode that curve up. That felt good. That was awesome. And then you just hang on to that so much.
But it's gone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You hang on. But it's gone.
So you hang on to those things.
You're hanging on to a river passing by you. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. Like you're hanging on to a movement that is already past. It's already past. And the future, you don't know what it is. You're living in a test negative network. Don't do that. Just you take a measurement and this is where you are. Based on the measurement, not on the pattern. On the measurement, you drew new constraints and then you go after that. And then you're going to arrive an S-curve, and at the end of the S-curve, you take another measurement and everything. But don't you draw patterns between those.
Speaking of the end of the S-curve, we're about at the end of the podcast.
There you go.
Did we have it? Did you have anything else we need to make sure?
No, I hope it gives you some enlightenment as to how to program for yourself. But understand that if you come to me and say, so what should I do? You're asking me to define your constraints. And we can help with the matrix and all that stuff. So we're trying to help coaches to do. Like I'll give you the matrix. You can look at that sculpt thing. By the way, yes, actually I want to add something. The sculpt thing, I got tested once on Sunday. I don't know if it's valid or not. It's just, I'm looking at the numbers and that looks very interesting. What do I mean by that? It's not an objective base now to go buy it and then based all my training on it. No, I have a new toy that looks very interesting and promising and I'm going to play with it. Once I played with it on myself for 4 to 6 weeks and then put Richard and Tyler and Kyla and everybody on it and then I'll give it to my coaches on mentoring program, which means 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I might have a cool way to set specific constraints. Mm-hmm. Right, I don't know yet. So don't look at the website and tell me how much bullshit it is or they don't even know what they're measuring. I don't care what they think they're measuring. I only care how I can use it and if it's usable and I don't know yet. So don't start, right? And 6 months from now, all I'm trying to get is a way for you to define constraints better. Do not base your training on what that fucking machine says. And if it says I went from 82 to 84% or 84 unit or whatever, guess what it means? Nothing. Because 82 to 84, there can be 1,000 reasons. Yeah. That's the problem with measuring for improvement, is it's a convergent mindset when you start to go deeper and deeper into it. And now suddenly you start to go at 82.3 versus 82. What does that mean?
Yeah. Did I get better? Did I get worse? Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. What I'm looking is 40 on one side, 80 on the other. Then you can go, yeah. But this is a problem we all face. Like, for example, like everybody, measurement. We all measure stuff based on time. Right, time is not constant.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks a second is a second. No, it is not. When you get, for example, close to a black hole, it goes to eternity. You will never see a person falling into a black hole. Do you know that? Because time slows down so much at a black hole that although the person will go through the black hole, you will never see it happening. Yes, same thing with distances. You think a meter is a meter? It isn't. Nothing. There's no constant like that, and there's an evolution of everything. So look at the big picture every time. Like if that skull stuff works, I'll go from a 45 to an 85. I'm like, yeah, right. There's a constraint. But 80 to 82%, it doesn't mean shit. So don't start to narrow down your perspective on it because all you're looking for is a magic pill, is someone telling you what to do. It says 84. And I don't care, it was supposed to be a constraint, not an objective. Do not turn this into a way to have someone telling you what to do, because then I know some coaches will see that, use the stuff and then without testing it on themselves, then they'll use it to sell something to their clients. And this is where I want to shoot you in the head. That is not the point. We're going to test on ourselves, and if it works, it'll give us an indication on how to get better constraints. It will never be an objective, and if you dare use it to sell something, yes, I will not be happy.
I do appreciate that you gave them like, I don't know, probably an hour and a half before you got into black holes and relativity and
I think I was
the
pretty
speed of light. We were in here this morning and Julian's like, I'm getting everything set up and it is 5 minutes. And I'm like, I had to yell. I'm like, Julian, it's not even noon yet.
Yes, but like, it's still a fact.
I think I was half unpacked. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I can't set up the podcast, and I cannot learn about quantum physics right now. This is so hard.
All I'm saying, yeah, like that. My biggest problem in the fitness industry right now is people and data. Like it's turning into data is turning into a new religion, where people don't even know what data means.
No.
What does that even mean? It's like saying that David was saying that on the StrongFit community. I do this smart, by the way. It's like I'm grabbing a tool in the toolbox. Which tool? Right? He said we need more tools. Which ones? To do what?
Yeah.
Right. We have 3 screwdrivers. Do you mean a hammer? Like, but that's why people say I need more data.
Tell me
for what?
Well, tell me specifically.
No, but plus, what does that even mean? We need more data. It's just a way to act superior. Yeah. We are now. So there's a religion of data now, especially in the fitness industry, because that's how people sell you stuff. Well, it's like saying like, oh, we need more faith, or like in the US, you have people saying the problem with gun violence is that people don't have faith anymore. I'm like, that's the problem, exactly. But to me, that's how it sounds like when people say more data. It's like, but you can't even interpret the data. Mm-hmm. Like you are basing all your arguments on work studies that you've read that you don't even understand.
When you just want the data to prove whatever it is that you're very comfortable with.
That's Maxwell's demon that you're doing with information, where you're using studies you don't fully understand. I can go into entropy and the effect of protein and people will say, yeah, but what about this and this? I'm like, we're not even discussing the same thing. See, you don't even understand what the stuff says. You're using theories and stuff you don't understand. So, and then in that case, more data for what? That's the stuff I posted on Instagram yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're enough, but you need to understand the stuff you're talking about. Not to a master level. This is what Charles Munger was saying. Like a high school level on different disciplines will carry you so far. I am not a specialist of quantum mechanics, but I did learn about it. So do I understand the math? Not at all. But I have a first year college understanding of it, just like everything else, first year college on most things. I'm better at movement and stuff like that, but like if you start to get me, acetylcholine, stuff like that on the nervous system, I happen to know that, but I'm probably a bit more advanced on the nervous system. But if you start to get me in nutrition, into what the liver does, and like certain term with dehydrogenesis and everything, I'm probably a first year student in college. I have no degrees, by the way. Yeah. So you guys know I have no degrees whatsoever, but I do know quite a lot, just not probably at the level most of you have in one discipline. Yeah. I don't. That's why I was a good MMA guy. I am not a black belt world champion, not even close to it. I was okay. Yeah. But I was okay at boxing too, and I was okay at wrestling. And that's how knowledge works. Is you need to have a basic understanding of all the stuff you're talking about. And I see a lot of people that are very good in very specific pockets, but miss the point because overall they don't know what they're talking about. So if you're gonna go into argumentation, know your subjects.
All right, that's good.
Like, there's measurement for you. Yeah, the whole data stuff is turning into religion. It's not good. It's not helping. We're not winning this war. Like, this is really why I get upset at certain fitness entities that I see, is that they go argument on stuff that are this big, trying to promote their own business. So they're winning battles at the expense of the war. Yeah. And we're losing the war, which is normal people, which is exercise. Like, we're starting to turn people away from CrossFit with certain elite, people have knee pain on the squat, but it has to be chest up, it has to be knees out, it has to be all that stuff. Like, CrossFit works so well for the first 2 years because it was based on constraints. Just time yourself, do this and move forward. And then the second they go to hard competition, it becomes objective based. And those are the issues we see.
So just like, the one thing that I notice is like when you view what the definition of CrossFit is: constantly varied, functional movement, high intensity. Those are constraints.
They're not objectives.
It is not 3 minutes in France.
Yes.
It is not finishing first in your fucking 4 p.m. class.
Exactly. Yes.
You know what I mean?
No one gives a shit about. Yeah.
Was your movement
Those
include enough
constraints.
variation to be effective?
And that's why it worked.
Yeah.
Because
is it functional and useful?
Exactly.
And
within
you
those
fucking doing it
and
in fight.
What did you do within those constraints? You tried new shit. First 2 years of CrossFit, best years of your life. Why? Because you had to learn double unders. You had to learn Olympic weightlifting. You had to learn to run. You had to learn so much stuff. You were exploring within constraints. And that's why it worked. Because it's about you. And by systemizing that, we're turning constraints into objectives, and we're losing people, right? And what bothers me the most are people that are systemizing all that stuff for money. In order to make more money. Their objective is not helping you guys, is to make money. I see it so much where businesses grow bigger, then they hire a CEO or whatever with one, and I'm not talking about CrossFit, I had somebody else in mind when I say that, where they do one thing and one thing only, making money. And so now they go out there insulting everybody, attacking everybody else why? Because that way they can stay on top, which is an objective set mindset. Then they quote survival of the fittest. They're not trying to help anybody, they just want to make more money. And it's that game for power that reminds me so much of religion, right? When religion tried to wipe out the other because they just want power. But the problem is, who's losing? Regular people. Yeah. That's who's losing. And we're losing that war. Like we're not winning, that's for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of making money, we're not going to do any of the reads today out of principle.
There you go.
Because all the information will be in the bottom of your thing. Yeah. That's where, if you want anything from us, that's where we go. Since today we were just like, don't be making money.
Oh, well, actually, let's talk about that. Now? We do, since we're going to probably start releasing more podcasts than once a week. Maybe not all the time, but we're going to do it. Like this one is on Saturday. We're going to do that more often because we have a lot of them backed up. So we want to release more. Yeah. And we're also going to create a support page if you want to give some money, like whatever.
If you want to buy some slide room.
Exactly, some slide room for us. Well, it's mostly for his plane tickets and everything. But there'll be a support page for the podcast if you wish to donate.
It's set up right now as podcast.strongfit.com.
Yeah, and you don't want to donate, that's fine. If you donate, no, you do not own anything about the podcast, and that does not give you any right whatsoever to tell us what to talk about.
No, we will offer in return our gratitude for your gratitude. Maybe.
I think I'm doing it by.
You're a cat person.
Right. Do you know how much knowledge I give for free out there? If on top of it I have to say thank you because you gave me $5, don't. Then don't. Like what? If you think we're doing a good job, you can donate. If it's for me to say thank you, don't.
Yes.
Or to tell me I'm being what was the term again? Uncivilized. As a society of myself because I'm not doing what you want. Fuck you.
My favorite, if I were to graph how the last few minutes went, it was, you know what, we were talking about, let's not do the money thing at the end. Let's not. And Julian's like, well, we'll talk about the one thing. And I was like, well, how's this going to represent us now? And then he's like, fuck you.
Exactly.
Julian does not much ad copy.
No, it's a human thing. Like if you think we're doing a good job, then support us so that way it's easier to buy plane tickets. But at the same time, I'm starting to really dislike that thing where people think because they pay you, they own you.
It's a transactional
remember Bane
thing about
in
it.
Batman?
Yeah.
He said, but I pay you a small fortune. And does that give you power over me? Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like that idea, because like we see that suddenly because you pay, we owe you. I'm like, no. I'm not your valet. This is not how this works. Like,
Julian, you gotta stop talking people out of paying.
Whatever. It won't make me your servant, that's for sure. There you go.
It might make me if it's enough. So thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you in a few days when you get the next one.
Exactly.